This is Showcase, Faculty Exhibition 8 at the Jule Museum. Here's Gwendolyn Cohen talking about the process behind her work.
This project is titled the Soil Atlas of Alabama, but it really comes from a deep and a long history that I have with the ground itself. When I was in graduate school about 10 years ago, I had a landscape architectural thesis that looked at tree roots and how they interact with and describe the conditions of the ground. And that completely tied relationship between soil and tree, that living half of the tree that's below ground that we forget about, we don't think about. And what really meant a lot to me about that project was not so much the tree roots, but the ground and the soil itself. It is what supports our life on Earth and makes everything possible, but it's often forgotten and also considered to be dirt. So the Soil Atlas of Alabama is a celebration of the livingness of soil, focusing at the moment on the Black Belt region of Alabama. I've been collecting soil samples to start to learn what stories we can tell through a handful of soil. What I've been doing is taking soil, diluting it in water, and starting to create drawings of what soil looks like through a microscope. So one of the drawings displayed here is a charcoal and ink drawing of soil enlarged with a microscope. So seeing something that is so small at a really large scale to start to just ask questions about what it is. That's been my artistic investigation into soil, a way to get to think about it as I draw. But I've also been in conversation with scientists to learn how different scientists look at soil through different lenses. Some look at the minerals in the soil. Some look at the biological life in the soil. I'm working with a colleague who looks at the pollen in the soil to tell the archaeological history of a site about previous vegetation communities. But then also turning to literature and when do we write about touching the soil? What does it mean to touch soil and pick up a handful? Where does soil become a character in books itself? So the work really is an attempt to have a really broad range, a broad look at a single handful of soil. So included in the exhibit are also small vials of soil, even less than a handful in each vial, to think through what stories do we have about the soil that we've touched. Quite often in literature, touching soil is a deep connection, whereas picking up pebbles is sort of a quick moment to connect to place. So when are those moments when you've felt the need to touch soil or pick it up and collect it? In the drawing of the soil, it's a microscopic enlargement of soil itself. So you can see some fuzzy pieces which are broken down biological matter, previous plants. You can see small microorganisms and other pieces of the soil. It's not so much about describing exactly what each element of the soil is, but creating a sense of wonder and connection as you switch scales and become immersed inside the soil itself. On the shelf, there are 5 dishes, and in each dish, there's a collection of soil samples from different sites. Most of these are around the Black Belt of Alabama, where this soil research has been focusing. Another part of this exploration has been what does it mean to draw soil, but what does it mean to draw with soil? The dish on the right is different from the other dishes. It contains processed soil that's been turned into a pastel. So part of this is the scientific investigation, the investigation into literature, telling stories, drawing soil, but also drawing with soil. Historically, soil has been used as an artistic medium. So on the right, I've created pastels out of soil, and there's a watercolor tube that contains watercolors made from soil collected in Auburn.